Hello everyone, Simsy Claire here and welcome back to my channel. So for today's speed build, we are again building in Brindleton Bay. I know, I'm sorry, I'm so basic. But we're doing a house that I'm calling the Cat's Meow, and that's because it's going to be for a single lady who has a whole bunch of cats, or a single man. I mean, it could be a single man, but I definitely was kind of going with the whole crazy cat lady theme. And this house was initially supposed to be for the new Spark challenge that we got. And that is supposed to be like a golden age home, so it's supposed to be an elderly person or an elderly couple who has a hobby, and you're supposed to build a home with an entire room dedicated to that hobby. But I ended up like halfway through this not really knowing what hobby I wanted to give them, because obviously raising cats is not a hobby, so I wasn't entirely sure how I wanted to angle that, or what I wanted to give them. And then I thought that maybe I could give them the cooking hobby, or they could be really into baking. But I didn't give them a big enough kitchen for me to kind of think that that's what they would do, and I also didn't know if that would necessarily count, because every house has to have a kitchen. So even if I gave them a really nice kitchen, I was like, does that count as a hobby in The Sims, or is that just a skill? So I'm kind of still trying to think about it. I know don't have a lot of time. I actually think that it's probably due, I think, by the end of this week, so I probably won't be able to participate in this one. But this was supposed to be the house for that, so I mean, I tried. But going into the exterior, so this house was kind of modeled off of a townhouse I found on Pinterest. It is 3 stories, and I'm pretty sure on Pinterest it's a family home, but I do a lot of family homes here on this channel, and I don't know why. It's just what I'm most comfortable with building. So I wanted to try and not do a family home. Now, this is still a very traditional home, so it's not like I'm straying too far from what I'm comfortable with, but I think, I tried to decorate it a little differently than I'm used to, and it's definitely for an elderly person, so there's a couple of more traditional pieces, but I didn't fall back on the whole nifty knitting pack that we got, that I think I've been doing recently, that whenever I do a room for an elderly person, I just make them a knitting person. But I definitely think I gave this person, technically they're a gardener, and I gave them this cute little garden area, and then a gardening space downstairs. So I'm actually really excited for us to get to that part of the video. But this one is going to be a little bit longer than what I've recently been posting. When I first started my channel, my videos were all 25 to 30 minutes long, and then I was like, that's kind of ridiculous, those are so long. So I started cutting them down, and now I feel slowly I'm working my way back up, because my builds are just taking me so long, and I really don't want to cut too much out of them, because I personally really like the building process and I love sitting through speed builds. So I just don't want to take too much out that you guys miss the majority of the process. But going back into the process, now that I'm rambling on, so the front area of this, I end up really liking how the front of this house looks. You saw the beginning of the video where I had this little clip of the weather going on outside this house when I was taking the screenshots. I was kind of annoyed because when I loaded up my game, it was raining, and the only thing I needed to do in my game was take the screenshots of this house. And I was like, come on. So I kept fast forwarding because it was a mysterious weather day. So I kept fast forwarding to see if the sun would come out. And then I was like, what if I just cheated? So then I tried to use some weather cheats, but they weren't working. And then I was reading, and it said that the weather cheats still take too long to work. You still have to wait for them to load. And then it was so the easiest way is just to get the weather machine, but the weather machine always gets my Sims struck by lightning. I don't know what it is, but whenever I try to use it, especially in Brindleton Bay, it always gets my Sims struck by lightning. So I decided just to keep fast forwarding until the sun came out, and eventually it did. I mean, it was still kind of drizzling, but it wasn't the torrential downpour and thunder and lightning that it had been when I loaded my game. So I decided that that was as good as it was going to get. And I don't think the pictures look that bad. I mean, the majority of them are on the inside anyway, so you can't actually tell. And I think that the outdoor ones turned out pretty good for the fact that there was no real lighting for it. But right now you can see I'm kind of doing this thing where I'm doing, lattice work, I guess is what it's called, around the front and the back of the house. It was just something to kind of make it look a little bit more interesting, kind of zhuzh it up a bit. And I end up deleting the one that's back by where the carport is. I don't end up leaving that one because I do leave that as like open to the backyard, so that way they can easily just walk straight through to the backyard. And I also thought maybe it was just a little much, but going in, like, as I kept doing this build, I kind of wish I had kept it because that's the only reason that the backyard isn't completely closed. And I did figure that they would have their cats outside with them, and I kind of now regret, because now I feel like the cats are going to run away. But then again, the cats run away in the game even if you do have fences, so it doesn't really matter. But I decided to extend the little driveway area into a pathway over to the stairs. Now, I haven't done this on my channel yet, where I start the stairs on the second level. And I don't know, I kind of like it. I don't do it a lot. I'm definitely, as I've said before, I'm definitely more of a traditional builder. But I kind of, like I said, I really like how the front of this house looks. I think it looks like kind of unique and yet the same. Like, I don't know. If you guys get what I'm talking about, let me know in the comments down below. It looks pleasing to the eye without looking too similar to other things that I have done. Oh, and then these fences. I could have sworn, so I'm sorry if I'm talking really loudly into my mic, but I could have sworn that the eco lifestyle fences came with a gate. Like, I specifically remember placing a gate when we first got these eco lifestyle fences, and now I can't find it. Am I delusional? Is there no gate? Like, please let me know in the comments down below. Was I using a gate that didn't exist? Was I just deleting portions of the fence? Like, I'm so confused. I could have sworn there was a gate. I actually end up switching the fence towards the end because I wanted a gate. You can see it here. I kind of fast forwarded, and I don't actually end up putting a gate. I just used this one as like a placeholder so I could find a fence that had a matching gate, but I end up just leaving it without a gate. I decided that since the carport was open, I didn't really need one. But I started to place 2 cars here, and then this little cat mailbox, which I thought was super cute. I have never used it before, but I thought it fit perfectly with this build. I do end up deleting one of the cars though, and it makes the front of the house look a little bit more bare, but I think it kind of matches the story better, because I definitely figured this was like a crazy cat lady. And she wasn't maybe she was dating, but she definitely wasn't married. So I didn't know why there would be 2 cars there. And then you kind of see me like turning my camera around a lot. I was struggling with the landscaping of this house quite a bit. I didn't really know what to do because, like, I don't know. I was trying to go off of the plants that are in the world, but the plants that are in this downtown area are so same looking. Like, there's none of like the bushes or the shrubbery or any of that stuff that they have over in the other lots, the ones that aren't actually in the town square. So everything was just looking so plain, but I decided to leave it. I mean, the flowers are really pretty, but I don't know, it just wasn't as diverse as I would have liked it to be. But going over into the backyard, I do end up placing this little garden area over here, and then I also give them a little walkway with these garden stones leading them up to their garden boxes. Now, I also added a couple of wall decorations. You can see I added a hose, a couple of like gardening tools. You can see like the spade and the shovel, and then I also added their garbage cans off camera. That was simply just because I was trying to figure out the landscaping and it was taking me too long, so I did decide just to cut out all of back here except for the furnishing. And then going on to the actual patio itself, it takes me a while to figure out what I want to do. I decided to give them a barbecue. I figured that even though this was like the crazy cat lady, I kind of figured since they lived in town, they had like more of like a communal atmosphere to their neighborhood. So maybe they had a lot of like block parties or like town meetings here. Now, every time I think of like communal parties now though, I get really creeped out, and which sucks because I'm not usually like this, but I watched this movie on Netflix. It was called One Bedroom. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but if you've seen it, you now know, like if you have seen it, you know why community parties creep me out now. I'm just saying. And let me know in the comments if you've seen it, because I am intrigued if any of you are as interested in horror movies as I am. But yeah, that movie kind of just completely turned me off of communal gatherings for quite a bit of time. It also made me, like, so I used to want to move to California, and it made me really happy, honestly, that I didn't end up moving, because I was like, if that had, yeah, I don't know. It just made me really happy that I decided not to move. But going into here, I was trying to figure out something to decorate this back patio with. So I ended up adding that little butterfly statue over in the corner there. in the plants. I thought that that was just like a nice touch. It kind of just brought some life to some of these plant corners, and I was going to add a bird box, but I've been adding a bird box recently, like a lot in all of my builds. I've been using that one from Eco Lifestyle because it just comes across on my screen, and I'm just like, oh yeah, we have bird boxes, so I just like add it, and then I'm like, that's so like, why am I putting them on all of my builds? And then after saving, we are coming back here to the backyard. I had closed down my game and then come back to it later. I think it was like the next day or something, because I was really struggling with how I wanted to do this backyard. So I decided just to add a plant here, and then a couple of cat decorations and cat like toys just to the backyard. And then as you can see, I already also did the floor plan. Now I decided to leave the floor plan out of the video because I knew that the stairs were going to take me a really long time, and I was right, they did. They took me forever. It's like a double staircase, but I mean, not really, because you can't do that in The Sims, but they're like stacked right on top of each other, the best I could get them, and it was taking me so long. I kept having to do the stairs like in a separate room, and then like move them over and finagle them, and it was just taking me, I was like, nope, I can't do this. I can't leave this in here. That's just torture. But going into here, this is going to be the front entrance area. It's very basic. It's just a couple of pictures, a mirror, a coat rack, and then like a rug. And then I also gave them an umbrella rack, which was apparently quite fitting considering the first day that this house was kind of like open, it was pouring down rain and thunder and lightning. But then going into here, the kitchen is right off to the left here, and like it's open floor plan kind of. I mean, there's walls, but it's all like open doors between the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room. Now the dining room is very small. We'll decorate that right after the kitchen, but I think it looks kind of cozy, I think, how I end up doing it. But like I said, you'll see it. But going here into the kitchen, I didn't want things to be too fancy or too modern. I kind of wanted to leave it a little bit more, you know, kind of like there was an elderly person living here, because I don't know about your guys' grandparents, but like I live with my grandmother, and my house, before we moved in to like kind of help take care of her, like the appliances were not up to date. There, like everything was kind of, you know, everything had this dated feel to it. So I kind of like, that's kind of what my inspiration was when I was going through with this. I was trying to find things that looked, you know, not broken, because obviously that's unsafe, but a little bit more dated. And then I'm cluttering up the counters as I always do, and I got quite a bit of clutter on these counters. There is one that is still functional. It is the one to the right of the sink, because that what's it called, the dish drying rack is not actually sitting on that counter, so it doesn't register as being like in the way. At least I'm pretty sure. I haven't had any issues with it. If you do, then it's just that dish rack and you just have to delete it. Or you can get rid of the cookbooks on that little side one there next to the stove, and then that one will be perfectly usable. But my Sims didn't have any issue using that counter to the right, so I'm pretty sure your guys shouldn't either. Just make sure Move Objects is on when you place the house, if you do choose to download it. But going over here, this is where I put all of the cat stuff. So I placed 4 cat bowls. Technically, each cat only needs 1, and technically your cats can share in the game, but I did decide to give each cat their own bowl. So you could obviously have more than 4. I just kind of stuck with 4 as like a nice even number. And then I also add these shelves here. I kind of thought that maybe that was the cat food, because there's a whole bunch of cans on there. So I thought that that kind of made sense if it was where she kept all of the cat food for easy access. And then going into this small room here, this is where the dining room is going to be. And I use this small table from Cats and Dogs, and then also the Cats and Dogs dining chairs. And I do them in the yellow swatch to kind of match the curtains that I had chosen. And I place a couple of decorations on the table, but not too many. And I'm pretty sure all of the chairs are functional except for the back right one, not the very back one at the head of the table, but the one to the direct right of that. I'm pretty sure that's the only one that doesn't work, just because of how close that is to the wall. I don't think the Sims can technically get around that chair that's on the head of the table to get to that other chair, but I could be wrong. It could be completely functional. But going into here, I had to change the curtains because I couldn't get the other ones to work, and it kind of annoys me that the curtains don't match, but then again, like, they're 2 separate rooms, so I didn't know if that really mattered. And then I'm using the Nifty Knitting couches and chairs just because I really like the colors and how they went with the dark wood, but I also really like these couches and chairs. Like, they're probably I don't know. As of right now, they're probably my third favorite in the game. I have a renewed love for the Parenthood ones ever since I did that Parenthood tiny home. But so those kind of jumped to number 1 after being like put down for a little bit, but these are definitely in like my top 5 at least. And then I decorated with a tiny TV. I figured that they didn't spend a whole lot of time watching TV, and then a couple of cat statues. And then I'm also using this knitting, although technically that's not knitted, but it's one of the decorations we got with the nifty knitting pack. And then over here I end up placing a bookshelf. And then, I can't remember what I placed. Oh, a cat tree. I placed a cat tree here. When in doubt, place a cat tree. That was kind of my motto for this whole build. If there was ever like a big space that I didn't know what to put there, I put a cat tree. Or like the big cat hotel home thingies that we got. Because this was a cat, like the cat's Meow. This was a crazy cat lady's home. I figured she would have a whole bunch of cat stuff just all around the place. Oh, and then these pictures. So I was trying to find one that was just cats, and there is none, and I was so annoyed. I was like, why? Because there's like 3 swatches, and I didn't know why they didn't give us one of just dogs, one of just cats, and then one of the mix of animals. Because the only other animal in there is a hamster. So I didn't know why they didn't just give us one of just cats, one of just dogs, and then one of the 3 mixed. But so I kind of just went with the mixed one and then just pretended that it was just cats. But then going up here to this landing area, I was trying to see if maybe I could place a closet, but as you can see, it caused the roof to glitch when I did that wall around it, and I didn't really like how that, I mean, obviously I couldn't do any gameplay with that roof glitching in like that, and you can't do the closets without walls around them. They just look so weird. So I decided just to get rid of the closet idea, and I just placed another table over here with some cat statues, and then I placed a rug. I'm using the cats and dogs rugs for this build, like only. I think I use one of the laundry day ones downstairs, but I really like the cats and dogs rugs, and especially in houses like this, they just kind of fit together a little bit better. And then over here I'm doing a little plant corner just to fill up the space, and then I'm adding another window, and I do a little bit of a seating area here. Now it kind of, at first, when I first did it, it didn't really make any sense, but the room right next to this is actually going to be the office, but there isn't enough space for like an office chair to sit and read, so this I figured would be their like little reading nook, because I always like to put reading areas in offices so that way you have a place that's a little bit more comfortable to sit with your books. And since I couldn't fit that in there, I was a little disappointed, so I'm glad then that I realized, like, I was like, oh, but they have the seating area right outside, so it kind of counts. But then going upstairs, this is the main bathroom. Now, there is no ensuite for this house, and then there's also no bathroom on the main level, but there is one on the upstairs level. That's the one I just decorated, and then there is one on the basement level. So there is technically still 2 bathrooms, and both of them are easily accessible to guests, so I didn't really think that it mattered. It wasn't like any of them were attached to bedrooms or you had to walk through bedrooms. But here you can see I'm messing with this Seasons mirror. Now, my biggest issue with this mirror, I've said this before, is that it sits too high on the wall. So I was really happy when I saw someone, I can't remember who it was, so I'm so sorry, but I saw someone do this trick where they deleted the wall and kind of just raised it to the level that they needed, and I'd never thought to do that before. So I was really happy that I kind of got to see that so I could start using this mirror again. But you saw there I placed a plant next to the dresser. I do end up deleting that in favor of a couple of cat beds because I realized I didn't have any cat beds in this build at all. So I did end up moving that, and then I also end up putting one in here in the office just off to the side to fill up, you know, the space where I would normally put a chair, but I didn't have enough leeway to do it where I thought that they could actually walk into the office. And I also end up with a really tiny desk. I wasn't really sure what they would use the desk for because obviously they're an outdoor person. They have their cats and then they have their gardening, so I didn't know, maybe they wrote books on gardening, or maybe they sat in here and did, you know, their paperwork when they needed to do like finances and stuff. I didn't really know. But here you can see I'm sitting through and I'm changing all of the cat beds over, and then down here is where I do their nice little gardening area. So I use this potting bench, I guess it's called, from Eco Lifestyle. It is not functional, but I end up kind of merging it in with the florist bench. So I use the storage one to the left and then the pottage bench to the right, and then I add some shelves, and it's kind of just like this large extended like gardening nook, and I thought that that was like so cute. And then I added like some cat food. You saw me put it over there. And then I clutter up some of the different shelves a little bit, and then I also put the laundry hutch down here from Eco Lifestyle, because I do end up giving them a washer and dryer. I placed them right over here next to the windows. This is, like I said, this is my favorite part of this whole house. I just love how cluttered I ended up being able to make it, and I love all the decorations and like how so cute it is to have all these gardening things around. And yeah, I don't know, I just thought this was, after I started doing it, it kind of just all came together rather nicely, so I was really excited about it. But I'm filling up some of the spaces on these shelves with some different laundry day clutter items, and you know, just random objects, some towels and stuff, just trying to fill in the space a little bit, make them look a little less bare. And then I'm adding some buckets and some laundry stuff, and then here's where I place the washer and dryer. It's a little bit weird having them so close to the door, but I figured if they were outside gardening, or if they were like right there at the florist bench, there's a bathroom down here, so I figured that they could, if they ever got like dirt or something on them, they could go ahead and just change right down here and then throw their clothes in the washing machine so nothing got all messy. But besides that, that is it for this build, so I hope you all enjoyed this one. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all next time. Bye!